Here we have Avalanche, symbol AVAX, versus the dollar. And I'm about to follow up on this one from the last few days. I don't think that we recorded videos on this one, but we did say in the last few streams here, as typically gets asked for actually, that anywhere above $96.50 would be looking for extension up into about the 110 to 110 region, of which we have just almost gotten on today's high at 107.25 or so. So with that in mind, I do look at this one as, as good for the long term, as long as you are now above this basing point, the same basing point that we've had for the last week and a half to 2 weeks now at basically 77 bucks. Below there, obviously big problems, looking for big reversals, or not big reversals, but big moves to the downside, big red dildos down to about 62, 63 bucks if that condition were to be met. And until then, short-term very likely pulls back here if I'm looking at a 4-hour. Then again, if I go to a 4-hour, we have continuation signals for right now. I do see that 4-hour BBWP is rather hot, so a little bit of ebb and flow is completely fine here. How far can it come down without destroying the short-term time frame range? Well, let's go to an hourly for this, and in this case, I would say 92.5 on an hourly closure below there. Problems until then, short-term bit of sideways. I really wouldn't mind if it pulled back a little bit, but ultimately, playing back in this region over here was a very strong signal off the back of that regular bullish divergence on the daily RSI right here. So ultimately, I am looking at this as one major consolidation. That means, and that implies for the long-term macro status, it is essentially healthy as long as it remains above about 77 bucks and between about 128 or so to the upside. Above 128, I do look for this thing to not just retest prior optimize, but very likely make new optimize. Start to talk about targets, probably somewhere around $200 or so over time. But for right now, sideways in the short-term time frames, very likely comes back down and tests around $96.50. I just don't want to see any closures below $92.50. Until then, sideways is good for the BULAs, and long-term is salvaged as long as you're above essentially that $76 low or so. So that is going to be very, very important going forwards here. Monthly, not really getting too much from this. And let's maybe go over here just to, whoops, wrong chart. Let's go over to this chart perhaps, as AVAX shows some relative strength here. But what are we looking like on the daily? What do you know? Daily Stokes are nice and erect as long as above $80. A nice 20% buffer on price action. Weirder things have definitely happened in cryptocurrency land, but hey, that's somewhat comforting, I guess. 4-hour is flippy floppy and will turn back up above 104. So short term, are we more corrected? Probably yes. Hourly is down below 105.5. So again, short term, I'd probably be looking for a little bit of sideways here, but 12-hour, daily, and I imagine 2-day are all popping up right here. Yep, 2-day is also popping up as well, and we'll be closing today. So all of that is looking good, after a little bit of a short-term sideways move for very likely another try to the upside. And again, I just want to, my main ideas here is on the macro scale, basically between about, let's say, 76 bucks to the downside versus 128 to the upside. Good for the BULAs. Just probably going to take its time here, obviously. I really want to see BBWP come down significantly more. So I don't think that things like trending today, right? I think that this thing's consolidating a little bit more. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for AVAX, sir.